Mario, a middle-aged man who has always prioritized his health, received a terrible diagnosis of an advanced stage brain tumor. Upon receiving the devastating news from his doctor, he found himself stunned and confused, wondering how something like this could happen, especially considering his healthy lifestyle habits and regular doctor's appointments. Arriving home with the weight of the diagnosis on his shoulders, Mario gathered his wife, Vanessa, and their teenage daughter, Beatriz, for a difficult conversation. With tears in his eyes and a shaky voice, he shared with them the details of his diagnosis and the situation he was facing. Vanessa and Beatriz were shocked and stunned by the news, unable to believe that something so serious could affect the person they loved so much. The atmosphere in the room was heavy, with a heavy silence hanging over them, as they absorbed the gravity of the situation. Mario held the hands of his wife and daughter, seeking comfort in the family connection that had always been his pillar of support. He knew he needed to be strong not only for himself, but also for his beloved women. Vanessa looked at Mario with tear-filled eyes, struggling to find the right words to comfort him. Beatriz, although frightened and confused, tried to remain strong to support her father. "We'll face this together," Vanessa finally said, her voice laced with emotion. "Understood. Here is the continuation of the story." Mario felt reassured by his family's unconditional support, but he was still haunted by his doctor's words about the challenges that lay ahead. He knew that the battle against the brain tumor would be a difficult journey, and that it would affect not only him, but also his wife and daughter. With a heavy heart, Mario decided to have a private conversation with his wife, Vanessa. He knew he needed to share his worries and fears with her, seeking not only comfort, but also a plan to face the challenges ahead. When Mario shared his concerns with Vanessa, she hugged him warmly and assured him that everything would be fine. She emphasized that they were on this journey together, and that no matter how difficult it was, they would face every obstacle side by side. In addition, Vanessa reminded him that they have an emergency fund and don't need to worry about medical expenses or anything else. She just told them to concentrate on their recovery. Vanessa's comforting words brought a little relief to Mario's worried heart. He felt grateful to have such a supportive wife by his side, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. His first stage was chemotherapy, a process that his doctor warned would be challenging and potentially debilitating. Despite the uncertainty and fear, Mario was determined to face each treatment session with courage. After the first chemotherapy session, Mario returned home feeling extremely weak and debilitated. Every step was a struggle, and he could barely move without help. His wife, Vanessa, and daughter, Beatriz, stayed by his side, worried and anxious to help him as best they could. Seeing Mario struggling to move, Vanessa and Beatriz rushed to help him, tenderly supporting him as they guided him to his bed. With affection and care, they settled him comfortably, covering him with a soft blanket to keep him warm. Then they brought him a glass of fresh water to help him hydrate, while expressing their unconditional love and support. Mario looked at his wife and daughter with gratitude in his tired eyes, recognizing the challenge they were facing together. It was clear to everyone that the road ahead would be difficult and full of obstacles, but they were determined to face it as a united family. Realizing the reality of the situation before them, Mario and his family understood that treatment would be a long and difficult journey, with ups and downs along the way. They knew that they would have to support each other and remain strong, even in the most difficult moments to come. As the months passed since the diagnosis, Mario subtly noticed a growing distance between him, Vanessa, and Beatriz. At first, he attributed this to the stress and pressure the situation was imposing on them. But over time, it became clear that something deeper was going on. Mario noticed that familiar conversations became scarce, replaced by uncomfortable silences and evasive glances. The laughter that used to fill the house gave way to an atmosphere filled with tension and sadness. He wondered if the weight of the disease was keeping his family apart, or if there was something else going on behind Vanessa and Beatrice's worried eyes. The moment that shocked Mario occurred on a cold morning, when he had to go for another chemotherapy session. When he woke up and got ready for the day, he noticed that Vanessa was still asleep, something that was unusual as she always accompanied him on these trips to the hospital. Determined not to disturb her, Mario tried to leave the house quietly. However, when he reached the front door, he realized that he wouldn't have Vanessa with him that morning. With a hint of anxiety, he knocked on the couple's bedroom door and softly asked if she was awake. The cold, unexpected answer hit him like an icy wave. She told him through the door that she was tired and that he could take a taxi. Those words echoed in Mario's mind as he stood in front of the closed door. The feeling of abandonment invaded his heart, and he found himself alone and vulnerable at a time when he needed support the most. And he began to wonder if the disease was not only affecting his body, but also eroding the family ties that had previously been unbreakable. Mario, still shaken by the experience of being left behind by his wife at such a crucial time, gathered all his strength and called a cab to take him to hospital. The driver, realizing Mario's fragility, was kind and compassionate throughout the journey, offering words of encouragement and silent support. When he arrived at the hospital, Mario asked the medical staff for assistance, explaining his delicate situation and the fact that he had gone to chemotherapy alone that morning. The healthcare professionals were understanding and helpful, ensuring that Mario received the care he needed during his treatment. Back home, Mario expressed his gratitude to the cab driver, giving him a generous tip as a token of appreciation for his kindness. As he lay down to rest after the treatment, he couldn't help but reflect on how strangers were being kinder to him than his own family. After a few hours of rest and reflection, Mario felt it was time to confront his wife and daughter about the attitudes and detachment they had been experiencing towards him. With a heavy heart, but determined to set the record straight, he called them in for a frank and honest conversation. With a heavy heart, Mario confronted his wife, Vanessa, and daughter, Beatrice, asking if he was a burden to them. The silence that followed his question echoed around the room, charged with the tension that hung between them. Vanessa, after a moment's hesitation, found the courage to express her feelings. She admitted that she was feeling overwhelmed with the responsibility of looking after Mario while dealing with her own fears and worries about his illness. Beatrice, looking at the floor with regret, agreed shyly, admitting that she wasn't prepared to face the difficulties that came with Mario's diagnosis. She felt powerless in the face of her father's illness and was struggling to deal with her own emotions. Mario, although hurt by the honesty of her words, understood the gravity of the situation. He knew he needed to find a solution to ease the emotional and physical burden his family was facing. With determination, Mario proposed a solution that could help solve the problems they were facing together. He decided to hire a nurse to help him at home a few days a week, thus relieving some of the burden on Vanessa and Beatrice. In addition, he arranged for a wheelchair for the days when he felt weaker, making it easier for him to get around and reducing his dependence on his family. Mario called the hospital and asked for recommendations for a qualified nurse who could help him at home and accompany him to his chemotherapy sessions. The hospital's healthcare professionals referred him to a highly qualified nurse called Carla, known for her exceptional dedication and care for patients. Carla quickly became a comforting presence in Mario's life, as well as ensuring that his medication was administered on time and taking him to his chemotherapy sessions. She also helped him draw up a comprehensive care plan, which included healthy eating, light exercise, and relaxation techniques to help with stress management. With Carla's support, Mario began to show a significant improvement in his clinical condition. His doctors noticed a positive response to the treatment, and his general health gradually began to improve. However, despite the visible progress, his wife, Vanessa, and daughter, Beatrice, seemed to be unhappy with Carla's presence in their lives. Vanessa began to express feelings of jealousy towards the nurse, questioning why Mario hadn't hired a male nurse instead. She expressed concerns about the closeness between Mario and Carla, suggesting that her presence could be negatively affecting their relationship. Mario, surprised by Vanessa's reaction, explained that there were no male nurses available on the hospital's list of recommendations. Furthermore, he emphasized that Carla was an extremely respectful and competent professional, whose sole aim was to help him on his journey to recovery. He firmly refuted her words, arguing that if she wanted the nurse to leave, then she and Beatriz should take over all the tasks the nurse was carrying out. However, Vanessa remained unyielding in her position, insisting that Mario could better deal with his problem without making it a burden for everyone. These words cut Mario deeply. He felt abandoned by his own family, unable to understand why they couldn't support him at such a difficult time. On days when his health was particularly fragile, Mario could barely stand, and the lack of emotional support at home only added to his suffering. Mario later received a call from his mother-in-law, who expressed her disapproval of the nurse's presence in his home. His mother-in-law believed that Mario was putting another woman into his daughter's home, which she considered unacceptable. Mario patiently explained to his mother-in-law that the nurse's presence was extremely important, not only for his own well-being, but also for that of Vanessa and Beatriz. He explained that he felt like a burden to them and hired the nurse to help ease the emotional and physical burden that his illness had placed on the family. For a few days, things seemed to calm down. The nurse's presence offered a sense of stability and support, and Mario felt a momentary relief from the impending crisis in his family. However, this peace was short-lived. On a particularly exhausting day after yet another chemotherapy session, Mario arrived home to be confronted by a removal truck parked in front of his house. His heart sank when he realized what was happening. Vanessa was standing next to the truck with a determined expression on her face. She announced to Mario that she and Beatriz were leaving for her mother's house. The news hit Mario like a punch in the stomach, but the exhaustion of chemotherapy had drained his strength, leaving him unable to react. In a state of shock and disbelief, Mario watched helplessly as all of Vanessa and Beatriz's belongings were loaded onto the truck. He wondered how his wife could do this to him at the moment of his greatest fragility, abandoning him when he needed support and love the most. Mario, still stunned by Vanessa and Beatriz's sudden decision to leave him, felt a knot of anguish forming in his throat. With a trembling voice, he turned to his daughter Beatriz for an explanation. He asked her if that was what she really wanted, if she would rather live with her mother. With tears in her eyes, Beatriz admitted that she would rather live with her mother because the situation at home with Mario was becoming too difficult for her to handle. Mario's heart broke when he heard his daughter's words, but he knew he couldn't force her to stay if it wasn't where she felt most comfortable and supported. With the weight of loneliness bearing down on his shoulders, Mario found himself alone in his empty house. He was forced to pay Nurse Carla overtime to ensure that he continued to receive the care he needed in the absence of his wife and daughter. However, the loneliness and sense of abandonment were overwhelming. Mario was lost and helpless, unable to face his recovery journey without the emotional support of his family. Fortunately, his brother, who lived 3 hours away, heard about what had happened and offered to look after Mario. Despite having 3 young children and a job, he promised to take a week off work to be by Mario's side and help him get organized. Mario's brother revealed some news that brought a ray of hope to the situation. He shared with Mario that he had a sister-in-law called Dorot who was going through a painful divorce and was looking for a place to stay. In exchange for a place to live, she offered to look after Mario for as long as necessary. Mario was thrilled with the idea and readily agreed. So Mario's brother's sister-in-law moved in with him and became a key player in his recovery journey. With the dedicated help of Nurse Carla and Dorot, Mario received the care and support he needed to face the challenges of treatment. As the days turned into weeks and months, the medical treatments began to show positive results. Mario gradually began to feel improvements in his health, and the response to treatment was encouraging. After almost a year of intense treatment and dedication, Mario finally received the long-awaited news: he was free of the disease. The complete remission of the disease brought a renewed sense of hope and joy into Mario's life. His hair began to grow back, and the wounds, both internal and external, began to heal slowly. Mario was deeply grateful for the medical team, Nurse Carla, the Dorot, and everyone who supported him throughout this challenging journey. After going through so many challenges and overcoming the illness, Mario felt it was time to make an important decision for his own emotional well-being: to divorce Vanessa, who had not supported him during the most difficult time of his life. With determination, Mario took the initiative and sent Vanessa a divorce summons. This decision wasn't easy for Mario, as it represented the end of an important chapter in his life. But he knew he needed to free himself from a relationship that had become toxic and no longer contributed to his personal growth and happiness. While dealing with this change in his personal life, Mario received a surprising job offer. The old company where he used to work called him back to join their team. This unexpected opportunity represented a new beginning for Mario, a chance to remake his professional life and regain his financial independence. After his recovery, Mario decided to move to a new town in search of a fresh start. He sold his old house and bought a much nicer home in a quiet and pleasant location. Mario was determined to live life to the full after his challenging experience with the disease. With his savings and the new professional opportunity he received, Mario began to explore the world. He traveled to various places, exploring different cultures, experiencing new adventures, and creating unforgettable memories. While Mario was busy enjoying life, Vanessa was outraged to see photos of him on social media, traveling, and apparently enjoying a prosperous life. The sight of Mario happy and successful after their separation left her with a mixture of anger and resentment. When Mario returned from his travels and was at home, he heard someone knocking on his door. To his surprise, it was Vanessa, asking for his help to pay for Beatrice's college. Mario laughed in disbelief at Vanessa's audacity and her lack of consideration after everything that had happened. Calmly and resolutely, Mario told Vanessa that, from that moment on, she and Beatrice should forget he existed. He made it clear that he would only share the good times with those who had helped him get through the difficult times. With this last interaction, Mario definitively ended any connection with Vanessa and moved on with his life. Mario's story reminds us that life's journey is full of unexpected challenges, but also opportunities to grow, learn, and reinvent ourselves. Mario faced a terrible illness, experienced the pain of betrayal, and faced loneliness, but he chose not to be defined by his adverse circumstances. He found the strength within himself to persevere, to seek help when necessary, and to open himself up to the opportunities that presented themselves. He rejected the role of victim and instead embraced the journey of healing, transformation, and renewal. Like Mario, each of us has the power to choose how we respond to life's challenges. We can allow our adversities to define us, or we can use them as springboards to launch us towards a brighter and more meaningful future. Always remember that no matter how dark the night seems, there will always be a dawn on the horizon. Keep hope alive in your hearts, find the courage to move forward, and never doubt the resilience within each and every one of you. May Mario's story inspire us to face our own challenges with courage, determination, and the unshakable belief that there is always a bright light waiting to guide us forward.